हेलो एवरीवन, आज हम जिस टॉपिक के बारे में डिस्कस करेंगे वो है बायोडाइवर्सिटी। सबसे पहले मीनिंग ऑफ बायोडाइवर्सिटी। इन बायोडाइवर्सिटी, बायो मीन्स लाइफ एंड डाइवर्सिटी मीन्स वैरायटी, means the richness in variety and variability of a species of all the living organisms in a given habitat is called as biodiversity. अगर आसान शब्दों में समझें तो बायोडाइवर्सिटी का मतलब है नंबर एंड वैरायटी ऑफ लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स इन एनी एरिया। इसे एक एग्जाम्पल से समझते हैं। जैसे क्वेश्चन है, विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग फॉरेस्ट हैव मैक्सिमम बायोडाइवर्सिटी। 3 फॉरेस्ट हैं, फॉरेस्ट ए, बी और सी। ए फॉरेस्ट में 10 टाइगर्स और 10 डियर्स हैं, मीन्स यहाँ टोटल 20 ऑर्गेनिजम्स हैं और 2 वैरायटीज़ हैं। फॉरेस्ट बी विथ 20 tigers and 200 deers, यहाँ टोटल 220 एनिमल्स हैं और 2 वैराइटीज़ हैं। थर्ड है फॉरेस्ट सी विथ 10 टाइगर्स, 10 डियर्स, 100 लायंस एंड 100 रैबिट्स, मीन्स यहाँ भी 220 एनिमल्स हैं बट देयर आर 4 वैराइटीज़। सो आवर आंसर विल बी सी, फॉरेस्ट सी with 10 tigers, 10 deers, 100 lions and 100 rabbits. So this was about meaning of biodiversity. Then is about historical background. In 1980, scientist Lovejoy he introduced the term biological diversity to express the number of species present in the community. And in 1985, scientist Walter G. Rosen made a new word of the longer word biodiversity to biodiversity. Means उसने छोटा कर दिया बायोलॉजिकल डाइवर्सिटी को, बायोडाइवर्सिटी जो है वो नाम दे दिया। So term biodiversity was coined by Walter G. Rosen in 1985 and the term was published in a publication by E.O. Wilson in 1988, and since then the term has often been used by biologists, environmentalists, political leaders and citizens. Then is about father of biodiversity. Scientist Edward Osborne Wilson, E.O. Wilson, who used the term biodiversity in his publication as a title of his publication for the first time in 1988. So he is known as father of biodiversity. Then we look into the biodiversity of earth, means global biodiversity। अगर देखें, आपके सामने चार्ट है, इस चार्ट के अंदर हम देख सकते हैं कि एनिमल्स जो हैं, एनिमल्स का नंबर प्लांट्स से ज़्यादा है पूरी अर्थ पे। मोर देन 70% आर एनिमल्स ऑन अर्थ। And among animals also, insects are making up more than 70%. Means out of 10 animals on this planet, 7 are insects. Second thing we see is fungus species. Fungus species in the world is more than the total number of species of fishes, amphibians, reptiles and mammals. Third fact is India has only 2.4% of world land area, but it shares 8.1% of global species diversity. And India is one of the 12 mega diversity countries of world. Mega diversity countries means the countries which have a lot of biodiversity. There are 12 mega diversity countries and India is on 7th number in mega diversity countries. Then is about pattern of biodiversity. Firstly, as we move from equator towards pole, that is, as latitude increases, biodiversity decreases. Latitude means as we move away from equator, as you see in this diagram, this is equator. As we move away from equator, biodiversity decreases. Near equator, biodiversity is more, but as we move away from equator, biodiversity decreases. Reason for that is the climate near equator is very favorable for the living organisms to grow. There is lot of moisture, there is lot of sunlight. Then biodiversity, change of biodiversity with altitude. Altitude means height of from sea level. Biodiversity is normally greater at lower altitudes as compared to higher altitudes, because as we move up, as we go up, the atmosphere is less dense and there is lack of oxygen, there are lack of gases, so only few species are able to sustain that low oxygen level. Then is the concept of keystone species. Keystone species, these are very important for an ecosystem. They determine the ability of larger number of other species to survive. मीन्स ये वो स्पीशीज़ हैं जिनकी वजह से दूसरी स्पीशीज़ सर्वाइव कर सही हैं. अगर ये नहीं होगी तो पूरा इकोसिस्टम भी डिस्ट्रॉय हो सकता है. और ज़्यादातर ये प्रीडेटर्स होते हैं जो हर्बीवोर्स की पॉपुलेशन को कंट्रोल में रखते हैं. एक एग्ज़ाम्पल देते हैं आपको, कैल्प फॉरेस्ट. ये अंडर वाटर फॉरेस्ट हैं जहाँ पे हाई डेंसिटी होती है कैल्प की. वहाँ कई तरह के एनिमल्स हैं. 2 इम्पोर्टेंट एनिमल्स आपको बताने जा रही हूँ, सी अर्चिन एंड सी ऑटर. सी अर्चिन, अ हर्बीवोरस एनिमल, इट damage kelp plants by chewing their holdfast. But there is sea otter, which is an important predator of sea urchin. It controls the population of sea urchin and thus it making keystone species of the kelp forest. In 1785 to 1840s period, there was maritime fur trade. Sea otters were killed for their fur in many parts of Northwest Pacific. So number of sea otters was decreasing and that resulted in the increase in population of sea urchins. And sea urchins population increased. They grazed holdfast of the kelp so heavily that kelp forest disappeared along with all the species that depend on them. So it was very difficult to restore that kelp forest, and the problem was solved by reintroducing the sea otters. In Southeast Alaska, 400 sea otters were released, and after some time the kelp forest was again formed. So that is about keystone species. Then we come to the topic of levels of biodiversity. Now we will discuss about the levels of biodiversity. There are three levels of biodiversity: ecosystem diversity, species diversity, and genetic diversity. Ecosystem diversity means diversity of the ecosystems. Means if an area have a lot of ecosystems, different varieties of ecosystems like pond, garden, forest, then we say that here ecosystem diversity is more than any other area. Second is species diversity. Diversity of species in an area. For example, if we compare forest and cropland, in a forest there are a lot of varieties of plants and animals, but in a cropland there are lesser varieties of plant and animals. So we say that forest has more species diversity than a cropland. Third level is genetic diversity. That means diversity within a species due to genes. It is due to genes. For example, a species of dog. In us, all the members of that species are not same. They are very different in color, heights, shapes of organs, etc. That diversity within the species is called as genetic diversity. Then we come to the main reason of genetic diversity. The characteristics of organisms are controlled by the genes, and genes that control the same character is not found in the same form, one form only. It is found in different forms. For example, gene that control blood group, that is found in three different forms: A, B and O. The different forms of the same gene are called as alleles. For example, a child has inherited gene A from father and gene A from mother. So his blood group will be A. If B is from one parent, B is from second parent, then also blood group will be B. If A is from one parent and B is from another parent, then blood group will be AB. If O is from both the parents, then blood group will be O. If A is from one parent and O is from one parent, then blood group will be A, because A is a dominant gene and O is recessive. O do not express itself in the presence of other genes. So if a child is receiving B from one parent and O allele from other parent, then also his blood group will be B. So that is the reason of genetic diversity, that a gene is found in different forms called as alleles. Then we come to then is the topic, why to conserve biodiversity. What are the values of biodiversity? There are a lot of values of biodiversity. Firstly, if we see economic benefits, the forest, the wildlife, they provide us food in the form of cereals, pulses and fruits. Secondly, they provide us firewood to make our food. Thirdly, they provide us fiber to make our clothes. Then there are lot of medicines are obtained from the forests, from the wildlife, like cinchona tree. From the bark of cinchona tree, medicine of malaria, quinine, is made. Penicillin is made, an antibiotic is made from fungus, penicillium. And there are also other lot of plants of medicinal importance like aloe vera, tulsi, brahmi, lemongrass. So then forests, they provide us constructional materials like wood, and they also provide us products to be used in industries like wood for the paper industry, tannins, resins, etc. Next are the ecosystem services which are provided by biodiversity. Amazon rainforest, they produce 20% of total oxygen in the atmosphere on earth. They are known as lungs of earth. Then pollination of plants through pollinators, bees, birds, bats is also made by biodiversity. We get aesthetic pleasure of walking through thick woods, watching spring flowers, etc. These are the ecosystem services which are provided by biodiversity. More the biodiversity on our earth ecosystem, more stable our earth ecosystem will be. Then there are some ethical arguments about why we should conserve biodiversity. What are the values of biodiversity? There are millions of plants and animals and microbes on this earth with whom we share. Each species on this earth has its own value, and it is therefore our moral duty to take care of all living creatures and pass on our biological legacy in good order to the future generations. Then this is the slide of showing some endemic species in India. Endemic species are the species which are native to our country only, जो हमारी ही country की हैं, उन्हें हम endemic species कहते हैं. जैसे टाइगर, Indian wild dog, snow leopard, it is an endangered species found along Himalayas, golden langur, black buck, Asiatic lion. These are the endemic species of our country. Then this is the diagram of recently extinct species, which are no more there on earth. There not a single organism of that species is there on our earth. Dodo bird, it is extinct from Mauritius. Quagga, it is extinct from Africa. Thylacine is extinct from Australia, and stellar sea cow, it is extinct from Russia. Then we see extinct animals from India. Pink-headed duck is now extinct from India. Southern rhinoceros is extinct from India. Then Javan rhinoceros is also extinct from India. Warbler is extinct from India. Himalayan quail is extinct from India, and Asiatic cheetah is also extinct from India. These are some species which are no more there in India, which were native to our country only. Now some facts about biodiversity. 2 out of every 3 bird species are in decline worldwide. 1 in every 8 plant species is endangered. 1/4 of mammals, 1/4 of amphibians, and 1/5 of reptiles are now endangered or vulnerable. This is the condition of biodiversity of our